very nice. But anyway, I love that, but seriously, ladies and gentlemen, we do hope you have a nice, enjoyable evening, and we will hopefully see you here again in City West. I'll pass you over now to, I think, a very impressive man when he stands up. If you walk near me, I think that makes a change. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, please, for a very nice best man for this evening, Jared. Thank you.
Carnearlig, Leachig, Larry, a good Green It gives me great pleasure to address this or oh shit, they're up to me. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to this, which is probably the biggest gathering of the Wallace, Mooney, O'Brien, Coulier, Quaid families since the burial of Starsky. Though in fairness, you're probably not as well dressed tonight as you were that night. I sincerely hope you enjoyed your meal. Those of you who've had the beef will have discovered the found Shergar. And I want to, just as our Victor D said there, I want to welcome those people who travelled the distance. Now everyone I know has travelled a great deal to be here, but in particular I want to point out those people who came from Drogheda. Now, if you're not aware of it, Drogheda is a small little settlement north of Dublin. So it's like a halting site without being North Dublin. Now, it's particularly appropriate because although they didn't travel a great distance, they come across a time zone. Because anytime you fly over Drogheda, the pilot comes on and says, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're flying over Drogheda. Please put your watches back 5 years." Now, this is the first time I've actually addressed an audience as a best man. And the way I was asked to do this is quite unusual. Now, anyone who knows me knows I'm interested in politics. And people who know Brian know that he isn't terribly interested in politics. And a couple of weeks ago, Brian rang me and said, "Do you believe in free speech?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "Good, you're going to be given one until the 19th. Now, it's going to be a slightly unusual best man speak because I've decided not to do the usual things. There's going to be no off-colour stories. There's going to be no references to the bride and groom's past. So what I actually did is I asked an old friend of mine, some of you might know, I asked an old friend of mine who's been married now about 40 years, what was the secret of their long, happy relationship? And he said, look, he said, we found, shortly after we got married, we found this little restaurant. I said, twice a week we go there, have a little candlelight dinner, a bottle of wine, nice meal, little bit of dancing afterwards, then back home for some passionate, wild romance. I was going to say something else this afternoon. Passionate, wild romance. So I go on Thursday, she goes on Saturdays. Actually, I have to point out that this is actually the second one because I actually had a wedding a couple of weeks ago. And it's one of those May-December weddings. He was about 25, she was 65. The frightening part is she actually understands it. As I say, I mean, like, he was 25, she was 65. So I rang them after they got back from the honeymoon. I said, how did it go? He said, it was great, really enjoyed it. I said, but now I know what it's like to have old age creeping up on me. No, I said I wasn't going to mention the bride and groom, but I might as well. And, I have to confess I'm probably more familiar with Brian. Because Brian was actually... Brian was born at a very early age. Now, those of you who know that as a child he was very sickly, very poorly. Very weak. He played football for a short while, but then he had to give it up because he pulled a groin muscle. Now, Gerald will be happy to know that it wasn't his. He was also in the Scouts, but he had to leave the Scouts because, he had to leave because he kept throwing sticks across the road and throwing two ladies together. Now, although Brian and Gerald have been together for a good while, it's only fair to point out that before Gerald there were others. Because, let's face it, he's a good-looking guy. He comes from a good-looking family. I was younger, very rarely saw Brian without a model. Very often to be seen with models. Now, I'm not going to name any names. One name, maybe, not names. Because there's one model that sticks in my mind, really caught my eye. And if memory serves me correct, I think it was an Airfix, a Junkers JU8. With khaki livery and detachable decals. You mightn't think that's much, but I can assure you she's got little colours. Now, Brian is very much a self-made man. And it's probably he's a self-made man in the same sense that he makes model aircraft. You know, if anyone's been in the house, you know that there's model airplanes, boats, planes, toys, everywhere.
Fire engines.
Ex-fire brigade.
Ex-fire brigade. Yeah.
Don't heckle me. Because if you went to the house, you'd see there's models everywhere. Now, I'm convinced that to give Brian a model kit for a birthday present or, God, for Twink's not asking for a wedding present. And we did open the box. If you give him a model, I'm convinced what he does, he opens the box, turns his back, takes the instruction kit out, and throws it away with him, looking at it. Because in life, just as in model making, Brian normally doesn't have instructions. Very much he does things his own way. He's not conventional, he's not traditional. But by heavens, he's been successful. And particularly that culminates in today, when he's been extremely successful. Because today, Brian has just about everything anyone could desire. Love and happiness for today and for the future. Now, Brian and Gerald's wedding day is something we've looked forward to for many years. A bit like the 37 bus. We all knew it was coming, but we weren't. And the gas part, I have to tell you, it very nearly didn't happen. Because a couple of weeks ago, Brian and Gerald were seriously thinking of eloping. And the only thing that stopped them was they realised you don't get wedding presents if you elope. Now, I haven't mentioned Gerald. Like and I say again, it's not a time for breaking up the past, but just very few stories. I mean, I remember when Brian and Gerald first decided to go away on holidays, Gerald said to Brian that she wanted to go somewhere she'd never been before, so Brian took her to the kitchen. Equally, I haven't mentioned her shock when the Japanese gas stove blew up. Turned out I had a suicide pilot. Geraldine, as well as you know, is into music and art. And every All-Ireland Sunday, she'd be seen down outside Croke Park, chasing after the Artine Boys band, looking for brass band drubbings. Geraldine, as you know, has a wonderful dress sense. Now, luckily, this cloth goes right down to the floor. Because you can't see what we can see from this side. Geraldine is wearing beautiful Scooby-Doo slippers. And other accoutrements bought at the Warner Superstore. Now, I just want to say a few serious words of advice to Brian. It's actually from a poem by Ogden Nash. It's called A Word to Husbands. It was written back in 1962. To keep your marriage brimming with love in the marriage cup. Whenever you're wrong, admit it. Whenever you're right, shut up. Now, I want to thank everyone here for coming today. There were some people who couldn't be with us, and they've sent messages, and telegrams, and telexes, and faxes, and postcards, and letters. There's one particular telegram I just want to read myself, and my distinguished colleagues here will complete the list. One telegram says, "Stay away from my daughter," signed Mother Teresa. Sorry, that's Teresa's mother. So I'll be back to you in a few minutes. So if you just bear with my colleagues here and give them an equally warm welcome. So I just hand over the microphone to Fergus, who's going to read a few telegrams from people who can't be with us today.